Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about forgiveness, and it's a very important topic and one that really needs to be addressed. And as a collective, as a community, we really need to make a shift in the way that we look at the things that happen in our lives. And hopefully I'm going to outline a couple of things that will assist you with that process today. So I pulled a couple of cards for this conversation and asked Spirit, what do we need to know about forgiveness? And one of the first cards I pulled is actually the self-esteem card. And this is a response to the solar plexus. And at first I was a little bit surprised that a solar plexus card would come out when we're talking about the topic of forgiveness, because I always think about the heart chakra. The solar plexus is the area just above your navel and just below your chest. That whole is the energy center that holds your self-esteem, your self-worth, your self-love, pride, and your confidence. And it is represented by the color yellow. And, what I wrote down about this is, if we think about the idea of forgiveness, the first thing I want you to reconcile is there are no justified resentments. I know. That's a big concept. It doesn't matter if it's the person who you lent money to and they never paid you back. It doesn't matter if it's someone who was abusive, if someone, cut you off, any level of lots of evidence, all around us that people are doing things that are less than pleasing. But there are no justified resentments. And I'm going to go into that a little bit more. But I really want you to grasp that concept. And it is a big topic. It is a big idea to take on. And here are two reasons why there are no justified resentments. Okay? Number one is because holding anger or resentment towards another person is like swallowing poison and hoping the other person is going to die. Now, you've probably heard that saying before, and it is extremely true, is the word, because our bodies are physically dense, and our thoughts, our emotions, when they get stuck, when we hold these resentments, that's why they call it holding resentment, holding anger. You're literally holding that energy in your body, and your cells are reacting to that energy. What do you suppose is going to happen when you're holding that kind of negative energy, anger, resentment? How are your cells going to respond to that? Okay, so that's why, number one, there are no justified resentments, because all you're doing is harming yourself with that anger. And if we are true beings of God, it's not our place, it's not our position to hold anger and resentment towards other people, because that's holding them in judgment, which of course we all know, is not the place to be. That's not coming from a place of love, that's coming from a place of fear. And the second reason is because if you think about it, and this goes back to the self-esteem card, if you think about it, after the incident of, whatever the resentment is that you're holding, after that incident is over, most of the time, instead of holding the anger towards the other person, a lot of times that anger gets self-directed. It comes back to ourselves, where we say, well, I should have known better. I should have said no. I should have this, I should have that. And then we start the whole process of shoulding all over ourselves. And so that really is where the self-esteem and the solar plexus area comes back. And so while we're busy holding these resentments, holding this anger, justifying it all over the place. The other person is off doing whatever they're doing, and we're the ones sitting here manifesting dis-ease, manifesting self-loathing, lowering our self-esteem. All of these things are happening to us. So I don't care how justified you feel in being wronged, holding resentment, holding anger, living in that space is never good for you. Now, that doesn't mean you can't create boundaries and you can't decide that people don't need to be an active part of your life anymore. You can love them from a distance. But holding on to that emotion is only hurting you. So that's number one. The second thing that I wrote down is when you're in a space of anger or resentment, then you're in a victim mentality. And, you know, being a victim is kind of a big deal these days. You know, everybody's a victim of something. And, you know, to me, that's very dangerous. I don't want to be a victim of anything, because when you're a victim, you have no power. Think about that. As a victim, I am powerless. This happened to me. Oh, woe is me. I'm a victim. I'm a survivor. I'm going to change the world because these horrible things are happening all around me. And I am very conscious to choose not to be a victim. I want to be empowered. And you can't be empowered if you are a victim. So it's really about shifting your mindset from this happened to me, instead this happened for me. Okay? So when you shift that perspective that this happened for me, then it becomes your greatest teacher. It empowers you. You know, when we tell stories about ourselves, we now have to live up to them. And so it's really, you've got to be really careful of what you want to own in this life. Because when you own it, you become it. Okay, so what do you want to be your story? That you're a victim, that all these terrible things happened to you, or that you had some life lessons along the way. And if you can see how those things are happening for you instead of to you, you can use them to create power for yourself instead of staying as a victim. And then the last idea I really wanted to talk about regarding forgiveness is kind of a two-part idea. The first part of it is detaching, and it's really understanding that 99.9% of the time, if someone is behaving in a way that is not pleasing to you, is it ever rarely about you? And so, you know, if you think about it, especially when we're dealing with the general population, general public, okay? Let's take family, friends, all of that aside. For right now, let's talk first and foremost about the general population. Nobody's waking up going, you know what, I think I'm going to piss somebody off today. Nobody's doing that, okay? Everybody is truly seeking the same thing. You know, we all are seeking the same goals, the same ideas, the same things. We want to, you know, make money, pay our bills, have a happy family, have a happy life. I mean, generally speaking, we are all seeking the same things. And so nobody's waking up saying, I'm going to go out and piss somebody off today. And so if you can understand that, you know, when somebody is behaving in an unpleasing way, it's because they're experiencing an emotion that is unpleasing at the time, okay? Think about this, okay? If you look at how someone's behaving, how does that, and it's not making you happy, okay? How that behavior makes you feel is a direct reflection of how that person feels. Okay, so if someone is doing something that's making you angry, chances are they're behaving that way because they're angry. Does that make sense? Okay, because there's this general basic idea that you cannot give what you do not have. Okay, So if someone is giving activity or behavior that is angering, because they're angry. They're giving that because they have it. So you can't receive it unless you have it. Does that make sense? Okay? You can't give what you don't have, because if you're giving anger back, responding to that anger back, is because you have anger too. So if we can move from a place of victimhood, this is happening to me, and move more into a place of compassion to other people and understanding, okay, so someone's doing something that's unpleasing. What must they be experiencing right now to cause that behavior? Instead of reacting, okay, what I would encourage you and maybe even challenge you to accept and embrace is, if we can all agree that the population of the world is not waking up every day going, I'm going to piss somebody off today. If we can make that agreement, then we can make the next agreement that more than likely how they're behaving is making sense to them at that time. Okay? And then if we can further agree that if they are behaving in an unpleasant way, it's because they're experiencing an unpleasant emotion at that time. Because the bottom line is, hurt people hurt people. Happy people do not hurt people. Okay? Think about that. Happy people, content, blissful, joyful people do not go around hurting other people. Only hurt people are hurting other people. So if we can look at other people from a place of compassion, first and foremost, and saying, if they're behaving that way, there must be some unpleasing emotion. And remember what we said earlier is that however that behavior is making you feel, that's how they're currently feeling, because it's a direct reflection. Everything is a mirror in this world. This is an attraction-based universe. So everything is a mirror, okay? If they're behaving angrily, it's causing your anger. It's because they're feeling anger, okay? So how they're feeling is what they're giving at the moment. And remember, you can't give what you don't have. And so if we can accept that, okay, then we can learn to move into a place of compassion and understanding instead of a place of reaction. Okay. Now, let's go back to your friends and family. And sometimes people do things because they're mad at you. Okay. So they're reacting. Okay. Again, instead of looking at these people are purposely trying to upset me, whether it's your kids or your family or your spouse or whoever, instead of saying they're purposely trying to upset me, again, it's about detaching. Okay, you are the only person responsible for your happiness. So if you are constantly saying, well, if you would behave a certain way, then I could be happy, you're never going to reach happiness because you have no control over those things. Okay, you have to reach that happiness state first. And if you can do that and separate the fact that their behavior, your happiness is not dependent on their behavior. Their behavior does not control your happiness. That is a choice. That is a choice that you're making to allow their behavior to disrupt your happiness. Okay? Now, I'm not saying that we're not human and we're not going to react, and it's a practice. It is a practice just like anything else that we practice. Okay? You can learn to respond in a way, in a place that from compassion instead of a place of anger. And what that requires is doing this releasing, doing this forgiveness work, letting go of all of these ideas that your happiness is attached to other people's behavior. That's first and foremost. Understand that if someone close to you that you know they're behaving in this way purposefully to upset you, then you now are equipped with the information that how that behavior makes you feel is how they are currently feeling. And if you truly love these people unconditionally, then it doesn't matter what their behavior is, right? Unconditional love is not dependent on their behavior. You're loving them anyway. So if you're loving them anyway, and you now know that their behavior is because they're experiencing a particular emotion, now you can go to them and say, hey, let's talk about what's making you angry or frustrated or shy or whatever it is that you're experiencing, because it's a direct reflection. How you feel from their behavior is how they're feeling to create that behavior. I hope all of this is making sense to you. Okay. I want to show you the rest of the cards that I pulled because they were quite interesting. And, you know, the surrender card that we got says, surrender to the magic of who you are. Okay, it says, we all have magic in us, even in the mundane aspects of life. Remember that you are a magical being with a uniqueness and worth that come just from being you. And that includes everybody in your life. Every single person is a magical being. And how are you behaving around them? How are you treating them? And where is that behavior coming from? Because I promise you, every single thing that you're experiencing is coming from within. This is an attraction, a reflection-based universe. You cannot see it if you don't first have it. Okay? So surrender to the magic of who you are. Now, what I love about this is the Ace of Wands. And this says passion ignited. And this topic is forgiveness. And that's exactly what will happen if you practice the act of compassion and forgiveness. Is that your passion inside, look at this heart chakra activation, your passion inside will be ignited. When you can live every day with compassion and forgiveness for everything that's going on around you, the passion that you will experience will be magnetic. Then the Rebel card I got, it says time to let go, move the F on. That's always a funny one. And then we got the Six of Swords, which of course says moving on. So again, when we talk about forgiveness, it is time to let go of, it's time to detach from thinking that our happiness is related to other people's behavior. Your happiness is a choice every single minute of every single day. You have a choice of whether you're going to be happy or whether you're going to be attached, whether you're going to be the victim of other people's behavior or whether you're going to be empowered and understanding this is an opportunity for learning. This is an opportunity for love. This is an opportunity for compassion. Okay? And the affirmation card that we got, which is probably the most important card in this spread, it says, my heart is open. I speak with loving words. And frankly, all of this that I'm talking about cannot be accomplished if your heart is not open. And if you watched the video from yesterday, the action card is heart chakra. It's heart chakra activation. It's opening your heart. So it's no surprise that this card came out. On the back it says, I am comfortable looking in the mirror saying, I love you. I really love you. So everybody, do this activity. If you cannot look yourself in the mirror and say, I love you, Ilona. I really, really love you. Ilona, you are amazing. I love you. And say that for yourself. See, if you don't have unconditional love for yourself, you can't possibly have it for anyone or anything else. Because again, you cannot give what you do not have. And unconditional love starts here. And that's why we got, this solar plex, this card, because this is where unconditional love starts. It starts with self-love. So my heart is open. I speak with loving words. This week is all about working on opening your heart. It's about shifting. So what I want you to practice is anytime you encounter behavior that is not pleasant, say, you know what? They must have a good reason for behaving that way. And that reason might be that this person is currently hurt, that this person is currently hurting. That must be the reason, because we know only hurt people hurt people. And that if they're happy, they're not going to behave in that manner. So work on coming from a place of compassion. Work on having your heart open and activated. I would really love to hear your questions, your comments, your experiences. If you practice this week, send me a note, comment here, shoot me an email. I really want to hear from you guys. So please be on your on your best behavior. That's what I was going to say. But I'm not going to put any shoulds on you this week. Be your most loving self. Be loving to yourself first and foremost. And when you embody that love, then you can share that love. Okay, be very kind and loving to yourself this week. Okay, please like, comment, share, subscribe, all of those wonderful things. And I really do want to hear from you. So I send you so much love. Thank you for watching. Namaste.